Welcome, everybody, to the Weekly Grind Podcast, episode number 6. I am your host, Keith Fabbri, with my co-host tonight, Carrie Cameron and Doctortoddlee. Guys, how we doing?
How you doing?
All right, guys, it is the Anabolic You episode that I've been looking forward to doing, and I know you guys probably have been too. The first of probably a few Anabolic You episodes, because you can't get everything into one, unfortunately. So we had some questions that we got from our grind members. We have some stuff that we wanted to talk about as well, and we'll get going with that. But first, before that, I'd like to announce, if people didn't already know, I had a baby boy Monday, the 23rd at 10 o'clock in the morning. My wife gave birth to my second son, Colton John. So I'm pretty excited about that. Mom and baby are home. Everybody's doing really good. My older son is adjusting well to the fact that he's not the baby anymore. So life is great. So,
congratulations.
Thank you. So, guys, Anabolic You. So, first and foremost, the reason we want to do this, obviously, is because there's many fallacies out there as to what is true, what's not true, as far as the world of anabolics goes. Unfortunately, people have their own rhetoric and protocols that they like to do, and most of them are just complete and utter garbage. So from a medical standpoint, obviously we have Todd on board, so we have a good insight of what is supposed to be proper as far as medically concerned, and with pharmacology as far as that's concerned. But then obviously we have anecdotal evidence that we've all actually seen and done. So we're just kind of like a median ground there that I think we all kind of know from being around for a long time and trying to do things the safest possible way. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. Everybody, we have people out there that are doing things unsafely, and they're just going to end up fucking hurting themselves. So I guess this episode is for all those people that need to learn how to do things safely, because if done safely, obviously they can use anabolics and they can live a long life. So first and foremost, I want to say that this is in no way are we condoning the use of anabolic steroids. Anabolic steroids are illegal compounds, class 3 narcotics, and are considered controlled substances by the United States government. So we are not condoning the use of it. We're not glorifying the use of it, but we are saying you fuckers are going to use it anyway, so we might as well show you how to do it right. So.
Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad.
Right. So I guess we'll start off with testosterone and what it is. I mean, these are all derivatives of testosterone. They all convert to testosterone in your system, if they're an androgen or an anabolic. So, Todd, go ahead and explain to us from a medical standpoint testosterone, how it works in the body, and how it aids in recovery and helps to rebuild muscle tissue.
All right, cool. So first I want to start off by saying that although I'm a medical doctor, this isn't medical advice. And no medical doctor in the United States of America is trained in any way, shape, or form in steroids or even testosterone. All of the HRT clinics, these are people who have no idea what they're doing for the most part, just winging it based off of what they see when they watch Bigger, Stronger, Faster, if you're lucky.
Right.
And what
right.
I'm going to be
right.
speaking of from my degree in biochemistry, which is the actual applicable field. So, that being said, endocrinology is a medical name for basically part of physiology that has to do with hormones. This is one of the fields of medicine that the people are the worst at. They tend to do really poorly at their standardized tests, and they can't get into brain surgery, they can't get into orthopedic surgery, they can't even get into psychiatry, so they end up doing internal medicine. Then the ones who suck too bad to do cardiology get endocrinology. So you get extra low brow, low intelligence factors in the endocrinology field. So not to mention that endocrinology is the most complicated fucking branch of medicine, because as one hormone goes up, it alters the dynamics and the behaviors of every other hormone in your body. Then, to make matters worse, these are fat-soluble hormones. The steroid class of hormones are based off of a cholesterol molecule, which means it's fat-soluble.
That's right.
To differentiate it from a peptide hormone, which is based off of a protein, so it's water-soluble. So these steroid hormones cross the blood-brain barrier and now change your neurochemistry. Now, I happen to have an additional degree in neuropsychopharmacology, which would be the drugs, mind-altering drugs, and things of that nature. So, that being said, a lot of the steroids have an effect on your personality and your mood, not just on your body. You'll find this a lot with the differences between boys and girls and how their mood changes as their periods change because their estrogen levels go up and down. And you'll notice that with women when they hit menopause, how they don't seem to be all there because the neurohormones are diminished greatly and they simply don't have a lot going up there like they used to. Now that seems like highly untechnical terms. Well, hopefully our main crowd isn't postmenopausal women watching this, listening to this, and so I'm not really that worried about offending them by cutting corners on this. That's kind of a correlate.
Jesus.
So that being said, the cholesterol molecule goes through a number of processes in the adrenal gland where it's modified into DHEA. Then in the testes, the cholesterol also gets a few other modifications due to the brain hormone from the pituitary called luteinizing hormone, which migrates through the bloodstream, thus it's endocrine, to the testes. And then the Leydig cells, the luteinizing hormone stimulates testosterone production. Now, an endpoint of testosterone, there are two of them. There's dihydrotestosterone, which we will also call DHT.
Yep.
And then there's the other aromatized version, which is estrogen. Now, estrogen is a female hormone. And the aromatase enzyme is located in everyone's fat cell. It's also located on the outside of the ovaries. So as the testosterone passes through the ovary to the bloodstream, it gets aromatized. There's a lot more to it than that, but we're going to keep it simple for right now. That, simply put, if you can stop the conversion of testosterone to estrogen, you'll have a higher testosterone pool.
Yep.
The reason one would want to do this, estrogen, on top of making you a whiny bitch and giving you bitch tits, is also going to make you hold water, increase your blood pressure, can cause acne, can cause prostate cancer, because when it binds to SHBG, which we'll get to later, then binds to DHT, and that complex is what's called benign prostatic hypertrophy or prostate cancer, if you're old enough.
Right.
What also the estrogen does is even worse, is it back inhibits the pituitary gland's luteinizing hormone production. Now to rewind, because I'm sure it's confusing, that remember, the pituitary gland is what releases the luteinizing hormone. And the luteinizing hormone is what makes testosterone produced from the testicles. So if there's too much testosterone in the bloodstream, the body censors that by converting it to estrogen. And then the estrogen stops the production of that luteinizing hormone. So the more body fat you have, the more testosterone gets converted to estrogen, the more it inhibits testosterone production. You've heard the legend where the girl doesn't want to date the dude anymore because all he does is smoke weed and eat pizza and play video games. And she thinks that weed and video games makes him not want to fuck. It's not that. It's that he's gotten so fat from doing nothing but eating pizza after smoking weed.
His testosterone
and playing
levels are
video
down
games.
the
No
toilet.
activity. The appetite goes up. He eats more pizza. His body fat goes up, and that converts so much of his testosterone to estrogen. He's more of a bitch than a man now, and she wants a man, not a bitch. She's already a bitch. So that's where that whole factors into the whole equation.
So what you're saying is at that point you got to find a lesbian.
Right. Right.
Well, so she can be abusive to you and yell at you about not cleaning up your pizza. No, it's like to me that's the holy grail, because I used to deliver pizzas and smoke weed, and I didn't give a fuck about girls. All I cared about was how fast I could play through Resident Evil with just a knife. That being said, the DHT is the other door. So if you've got a cup, and that cup is you, and you're filling it with the water, and we're going to call that water testosterone, aromatase and 5-alpha reductase are the holes in the bottom of that cup. So if you take some big red gum and slap it on one of those holes and block the aromatase conversion, water's going to flow out that DHT hole, that 5-alpha reductase hole, faster. Now, 5-alpha reductase is like the male half.
Right.
If testosterone converts a female fetus into a man, for those of you who don't know, you all started as girls. And then what happened was, if you had a Y chromosome, the SRY gene on that Y chromosome would then convert, basically allow you to make testosterone, and then the testosterone is made into DHT. And the DHT, when it applies to female tissues, then shape shifts those tissues into male tissue.
Right.
That's why women should never, ever, 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 ever use any form of anabolic, steroids or testosterone, because slowly but surely it has to physiologically convert them into dudes,
Right.
just like gravity. So that being said, if you take stuff that converts to DHT, which is a lot of it, then it's going to have a lot more masculinizing effect on even an androgynous male. So it'll start to make more facial hair grow. It'll make your hair fall out. It might make your penis bigger if it wasn't fully developed, although most of us, no matter how small they are, they're fully developed.
They're fully developed.
It's not going to work for you. Or, it's like the point is the DHT then blocks the aromatase enzyme.
You got people
and stops the masculinization, then goes back and converts and stops more feminization,
right,
which indirectly will then prevent the inhibition of the LH from being released. So DHT is a great thing for everyone who isn't prone to hair loss.
Right.
For people who are prone to hair loss, there's a way around that, which we'll get to later.
Yep.
That's pretty advanced, and I don't want to get too off topic just yet.
All right. So
the
basically,
final thing I want to talk about physiology is that DHT doesn't build muscle.
No.
Unlike the anabolic steroids made from DHT, normal DHT has a carbon in position 2, and thus it's broken down once it enters the muscle cell. You need the actual testosterone itself to grow muscle tissue.
Yep.
You were saying, Keith?
No, that's what I was going to say, is that the DHT is actually not the what causes muscle growth.
Now, most of your orals, the good ones at least, are basically DHTs that have been chemically modified to be structurally intact, not get aromatase, and not get 5-alpha reduced.
Right.
Simply put, it's already been 5-alpha reduced. If it can't be aromatized, it won't convert to estrogen or DHT. It'll stay in whatever synthetic form it is.
Right.
The whole point of an anabolic steroid is to make something that has all the good and not the bad. And what's bad for some people is good for others.
Right.
What's good for some people are bad for others. That's why you've got some steroids that are good for estrogen production, and some steroids that will never convert to estrogen.
Right.
It's because estrogen itself has an anabolic function. It functions similar to IGF-1. The estrogen alpha receptor helps donate nucleuses from satellite cells, and I believe it's the estrogen beta receptor that helps split cells.
Right.
Kind of like MGF and IGF-1, respectively.
All right. Good stuff. So now we basically have a knowledge of what testosterone actually does in the body and how it actually works. Now we can get into, and what I want to do is we want to talk about some basic steroid cycles as far as beginner cycles, because I get a lot of questions on that, and I'm sure you guys do too. As far as what a good beginner cycle would be. And for my personal opinion, a good beginner cycle for somebody who's never used before would just be testosterone by itself. I don't see any reason to take anything else, because the problem is with taking a bunch of shit all at once is you don't know what's doing what for you. You really don't. You have to get that base.
Right.
So testosterone by itself, find out how much you can utilize before you start having problems from estrogen conversion and stuff and needing anti-aromatase. Usually 400 to 500 milligrams a week will do it.
Yeah.
I don't see any need to do any more than that. I know there's some retards out there that just blast 1,000 milligrams a week right off the bat, and it's like, Jesus, what the fuck are you doing to yourself? But 400 to 500 milligrams for about 8 weeks to start with would be what I would consider a beginner's. Hell, 400 to 500 milligrams of testosterone a week, you should be able to do that for quite a while before you actually need to start thinking about doing anything else. Because if you can't grow at least a little bit off of 400 to 500 milligrams of testosterone a week, then you need to look at your diet and your training, because they're probably shit.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. That's the standard, is that beginners can't eat and they can't lift.
Right.
And they think the reason why they look like shit is they're not taking enough drugs.
Right.
Well, nothing could be further from this.
No, and it's usually, if they would just be diligent on their training and their diet, that they would grow anyway. And then when they got further along, they could add some drugs and they could break past that plateau. But that's not the way it is. They get in the gym for fucking 2 weeks and they're trying to figure out who's got gear.
It's like Wolverine.
People that don't
Wolverine
eat
is dangerous.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
What'd you
I
say,
always tell
Carrie?
people the point of steroids is to recover from trauma you induced through strenuous workouts.
Right.
And then you grow muscle with the food that you eat.
Right.
So if you're lifting like a pussy, eating like a bird, you ain't going to grow shit because your body's not going to repair from damage you didn't do to it with shit you didn't eat.
Right. I always tell
So
people.
taking more gear ain't going to make sense.
Right. I always tell people you don't grow in the gym. You grow at the dinner table after. You know,
Right.
that's how you grow. You have to have enough calories in your system, of the right calories based on the work that you did. So,
Well, and people forget that steroids are just a supplement.
right.
They're supplementing the diet and training.
Right.
If it's not there,
Right.
it doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
You can put, 94 octane gasoline in a Pinto and it's going to run like dog shit still. It doesn't matter. You got everything else in place, So,
Right.
It's like going out and buying some expensive guitar chords, but you don't have an amp or a fucking guitar. Unless you're going to strangle people and take their shit, they're not going to do any good.
if you're going to do that, the expensive ones are highly recommended.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I know.
Monster cable. If you break a monster cable after strangling somebody, you can return to the manufacturer. No questions asked and get another one for free. That's why I always use monster cable brand cords.
That's right.
Right.
You get your evidence cleaned up for you. It's a win-win.
So anyway, we've got a beginner. We get a guy who's about 4 or 5 years into training. He's looking to do something a little bit more. I've always told people when they ask me, "Hey, look, this is where I'm at. This is what I've done." They're competing or they're seriously training in the gym and trying to get the cosmetic look of a competitor. Even maybe they don't want to compete. What, in your opinion, Todd and Carrie, what do you guys think? And I know what I think. Well, we'll get that in a second. Is a good amplifier to stick along with that testosterone, because we really don't need to raise the testosterone at all at this point. I mean, I don't see going up to 750 or 1,000 milligrams being any more for them than what the 500 is. If we're going to add something else to amplify, what would it be for you, Todd?
All right, so I want to back up a little bit.
Sure.
And I see testosterone injections as being a sexual dysfunction correction.
Okay.
That if you want to grow muscle, I feel you would start with an anabolic steroid. And if you start getting sexual dysfunction because of the natural suppression of testosterone, then one would either use Thor's hammer, which I invented. You don't have to listen to me because it sounds like a plug. But that's why I made it, is to run it under cycles, because I knew how irresponsible people were with their cycles.
Right.
I was like, here I can make an all-in-one on-cycle or post-cycle therapy thing with 2 aromatase inhibitors and with some stuff like 11 different ways of increasing natural testosterone, a little bit of a GH boost, so that if you run it, you're a complete beginner, you have no fucking idea what you're doing. You can run Thor's hammer and fuck around with Anavar or D-ball or Anadrol or Tren and not even use test, and you're not going to shut your shit off completely.
Right.
Then when you go off the anabolic, still running the Thor's hammer for a few weeks, you can go off the Thor's hammer, you should be back to normal.
Right.
As if your dick still works, you can still get girls pregnant, your life's the same, Because the big fear is that if you go on something like an anabolic steroid or an oral steroid or Tren and you don't have a testosterone base, you'll shut your shit down so hard,
Right.
your dick won't work.
Right.
You won't be able to have sex. You won't have the sex drive, which isn't a big deal a couple weeks out before a show, but we're not talking about doing competitions. We're talking about the average person who's dabbling with the black arts.
Right.
He's like, oh, I've got this spell book. Hopefully I won't have it backlash and burn my face off. So
Right.
It's kind of like armor for the beginners. It's black magic warding to
Right.
protect you from your own black magic spell backfiring. It's like, no, you're supposed to stand outside the summoning circle, dumbass. You don't stand inside the summoning circle and summon the demon. Then it's going to tear you apart. So when it comes to playing with the fire and doing black magic, the Thor's hammer is supposed to protect the person. But even if you don't use it, you could get away with, let's say you use 20 milligrams of Anavar. That's shown only to decrease natural testosterone production by 56%. Then when you go off of it, it's been shown to rebound your natural test to a level higher than it was before. That prescription dose is 6 milligrams for people who have 50% of their body covered in third-degree burns. So, of course, bikini competitors use 50. That's not because it's the right thing to do. It's just because of the extreme stupidity of our culture.
Well, that's how big the pill is.
So I would,
That's how big the
I
pill
would say
is.
people start 20 milligrams pre-lift, maybe 30. More than 30, I mean, and it's like 30 milligrams of Anavar pre-lift or 20 milligrams of D-ball pre-lift. That should be enough. If you go higher with the Anavar, you're going to get angry. If you go higher with the D-ball, you're probably going to get gyno. If you don't have other measures in place to protect you, like AIs. And that gets into another whole world of confusion and conversation. Now, if you start having sexual dysfunction, then you could run 200 milligrams of test a week, either an N-Amphade or Cypionate is
Right.
what most doctors would prescribe. I don't like
Right.
it. And that's basically all you need for your junk to work. You should be able to run 1,000 tests or 800 to 1,000 blood tests. That's nanograms per deciliter.
Right.
Total test. If you're running 200 tests a week, at 300 tests a week, you should be hitting 1,200. But now your estrogen's creeping up, and you don't want your blood estrogen over 30. That's why, back to Thor's hammer, because I'm a greedy dick. But no, I really made it for this reason: is that if I'm cutting down 50% permanently and another 50% temporarily, I'm never going to drive your estrogen below 10 to 15, no matter what you're running. So you don't want it so low that you have HDL suppression. That's the good cholesterol.
Right.
You start having hardening of the arteries, like if you're running a prescription letrozole or Arimidex. But you want to have some control of that estrogen so it doesn't go off the charts if you take that testosterone injection of 300, 400, or 500 a week.
Right.
Therefore, back to the basic question is a little bit of orals pre-lift and either Thor's hammer or 200 tests a week as a base. I don't think you ever really need a 400 test. Then you would step it up and you'd introduce other agents slowly and test your tolerance of them.
Right.
And most of them have a sweet spot range. And a lot of people think, well, if the 400 deca is good, I should use 900. No, it means that after you hit 400 deca, you have to introduce a new drug. It does something slightly different and amplifies the strengths, but the flaws cancel out.
Right.
So if you're trying to grow muscle, everything's got an anabolic value. You want those anabolic values to stack, but you would, if you're running a D-ball, putting in too much deca, you're probably going to get gyno.
Right.
So maybe Anavar would be better with deca, or maybe Tren would be better with the D-ball, because one's drier and one's wetter. And we'll get into what dry and wet mean later.
Right.
But the point is a little bit of 2 or 3 drugs that do different stuff, like a testosterone, a nandrolone, and a DHT, are going to work better than a ton of tests, like you said, or a ton of an oral or a ton of deca.
Right. I can attest to the Thor's hammer, by the way, so everybody knows. In the couple weeks that I've been using it, I have never fucking felt better than I do right now. I'm serious. It's amazing. Within 2 days of using that combo, that test booster combo with the Thor's hammer and the test booster together, I literally could tell a huge difference, and it's amazing. I'm drier, I'm fuller, I'm stronger, and I look bigger just walking around, more because of the fullness, and I didn't change anything else. And fuck, I haven't been to the gym in like 4 or 5 days now because of my wife going into labor and stuff, so I haven't been to the gym since Sunday morning. Here it's Wednesday, so three full days. I haven't been to the gym, and I look bigger than I did before. I haven't done a damn thing. I've been sitting on a fucking couch playing with a newborn. That's what I've been doing. So I can attest to the fact that it does work, and it does work very, very well as far as boosting natural testosterone and stuff the way it's supposed to, and limiting estrogen. So obviously there is something to it. So when you say, that's putting that underneath and you made it for a reason, the reason you made it is it actually works the way it's supposed to. So I can attest to that. As far as adding something else, and I've actually done this before, and that's why I said there's no reason to just jump it up to 1,000. Keep your test where it's at. Once you find the sweet spot on the testosterone, I would say add other stuff. And you're saying adding orals is probably your best bet.
Temporarily, like 6 to 8 weeks with
Right.
certain orals.
Yeah, because you can't run them for very long.
I think Anavar is probably safe year round because it's on label prescribed for alcoholic hepatitis.
Okay.
So if you think the biggest fear people have for orals is that it causes liver damage, well, why the fuck is Anavar prescribed for liver damage?
Right.
Because it doesn't cause liver damage. That's the answer. At the prescribed dose of 6 to 20 milligrams.
Right.
So year-round, you probably get away with 6 to 20 milligrams. Plus, if you take it around the clock, you're going to have more side effects than if you blast it before you lift and let it wear off a little bit while you're sleeping.
Right.
The other thing is Proviron is supposed to be really safe at 50 milligrams a day or no more.
Right.
And Proviron has been shown, no one really understands why. They just know that it really tightly binds to SHBG and that it increases LH and FSH, not decreases it. So it's the only anabolic steroid that increases natural testosterone production. So to me, Dorshammer and Proviron may be able to replace the whole principle of what's it called? The
TRT.
HR. Yeah, I don't think you really need
TRT anymore.
It's so poorly managed. If you had a doctor that was not a piece of shit, it'd be a different story. But these motherfuckers have you go get your blood work tested, let's say, on the 1st of January. Then the results come back on like January 21st. Then by January 28th, some nurse reads you her opinion of what the blood work shows, which she probably doesn't understand. And then you basically have to go to the pharmacy once you get the script February 7th. And then they won't fill it. And then they have to get your insurance to confirm it. Then they have to have the doctor change the dosing protocol. Then when they finally agree to fill it, they don't have it. They have to fucking order it. And then it's already February 29th. Then the insurance changes. And then the doctor doesn't carry your insurance anymore. And by the time you get your fucking testosterone, it's the middle of March and your wife's left you. So, and then, heaven forbid, they should just renew it or give you a 3-month supply at a time. That ain't gonna fucking happen.
No, they don't do that. They give you like 4 amps and say, "Here you go." What the fuck is this?
And it's like, come back and suck our dick.
Come back in 30 days.
Yeah, come back and give us $900 a year just to be part of our group, where we're gonna mismanage you and ass fuck you.
Right.
And that's pretty much how it goes with everyone except for LifeXMD. LifeXMD is the only company I know that, well, they actually changed from Cypionate to an Anabate because I whined about it enough. That's how fucking cool they are.
Right.
So it's like that they're going to compound pharmacy shit and mail it to you right away. And with your script, so if you end up getting pulled over and you got drugs in the car, you have the script and you have the drug.
Right.
And it's written by real doctors and all that shit.
Sure.
But aside from that one company, LifeXMD, I don't know anybody that handles it well at all. So it's safer just to run Proviron and the Thor, or if you don't want to deal with me, just Proviron. And it should be able to be enough of a test booster and base that it will carry you through. They even prescribe Proviron to old people with Alzheimer's because of the mood-stimulating effect of the DHT molecule. To clarify, Proviron is a DHT molecule with a 2' modification that's most similar to Masteron. Masteron's like injectable DHT that can still build muscle, called Dromo is what another street name for it. Proviron is an oral version of it. So it's 17 methylated. And the methylation allows for it to go through your liver, go through what's called first pass metabolism, and not have the steroid broken down.
Right.
It's supposed to be hard on the liver, but this conversation started with what are the 2 drugs you can run year-round? It's Proviron and Anavar. Even though they're 17 methylated, they appear to not have any type of damage. The blood test to determine if it's an oral-induced liver damage is usually your alk-phos and your bilirubin type stuff. But that's the tree. The AST and ALT is something totally different and has to do with metabolism of protein for fuel more than it has to do with actual liver damage.
Yeah. Kerry, what would you add to testosterone as far as for amplifying effect? What would you go ahead and add to it?
You know, I'm right there with both of you guys with an oral. I've had really good luck with Anavar. I've had some good luck with D-ball. I mean, I tend to get more bloat. So for myself, I've had better luck with Anavar.
Right.
You know, but those are safe things to add in there. I've had really good luck with Proviron as well, obviously because it's a drying agent, so it keeps me drier. I mean, it's, you know, it's the simplest way to go, and I like to go that route first before I eat anything else. on the injection schedule, just because it gets complicated, and there's no reason to rush more injectables.
Right.
Keep the testosterone low, and we've all talked about this. I mean, I'm big about, just like Todd said, low dose, multiple compounds, more than one or two at a high dose.
Right.
Keep the side effects lower and just amplify the effects of each and work them together. If
Mm-hmm.
you have a good plan in place, you're going to be a lot further on lower doses than you are going to get blasting it out. So, yeah, I'd start. Most of the people that I work with, or anybody I've ever given advice to, has always been Anavar and Butyrol, depending on what their goal is.
Right. Yeah, I prefer Anadrol myself. That's just me. I prefer to add Anadrol, 50 milligrams, and usually I can just do 50 milligrams pre-workout. I don't even have to do it every fucking day. We just do it pre-workout, like an hour before I get in the gym. That would be where I would start, and where I would tell somebody to start if they want to build a bunch of muscle. If the person just wants to look good and they want to, maybe volumize what they're doing a little bit, then yeah, Anavar is probably the way to go. Just because of how mild it is. You're not going to get any kind of side effects from it, really. You will get some kind of anabolic response from it, and when you add it in over the top of like testosterone base, or in this case 400 or 500 milligrams of testosterone a week, if this is what the person's been doing. I think for myself, though, Anadrol is the way to go first, and then if we go any further than that, then I like EQ. I know, Todd, you like Nandrolone, you like NPP.
Right.
I prefer EQ for the collagen buildup effects. I got bad elbows and shit and knees that cracking pop and everything else. So the collagen buildup from the EQ helps me out. Plus, I get the anabolic effects as far as the amplifying effect from the EQ, which I feel is just, for me, works a little bit better.
So, in regards to what Carrie said, what I found was, if I do let's say 50 Proviron every day, no matter what, then you put 20 D-ball on like chest, shoulders, and arms, and 20 Anavar on back and legs, so I don't get the pump my lower back. That allows the levels of estrogen to not get too crazy, because D-ball converts to methyl estrogen. That's how it helps grow muscle so well, whereas on paper it sucks so bad. Anadrol doesn't do that. That's a different animal. But the D-ball is like the one drug. Like, for those of you who don't know, it's EQ, but in oral form.
Yep.
But for some reason, it converts into methylated estrogen, which is birth control pills. And they stay in your system long as fuck. Mm-hmm. So you get you don't get the mood swings that estrogen gives you with D-ball, like you would off of a high dose testosterone, where you're crying and weeping and having temper tantrum. You get that with a huge dose of testosterone. You don't get that with D-ball. D-ball, you just have the muscle building effects and the water retention of the estrogen from the methyl estrogen. The problem is, if you let that build up over time, you become like this bloated tick, and your eyes feel like they're going to squirt out of your head. Yep. And you have like lower back pump that's so bad you get up in the morning, you feel like you're in pain. Mm-hmm. So to mitigate that, you take that 3 days a week on chest, shoulders, and arms, where you want the biggest pump possible because it's all white fibers. Then on like back and legs, which are more stability muscles, and you have to worry about getting too much of a lower back pump, you could take something drier like Anavar. Another way around it would be using a 10 and 10 of each, taking D-ball and Anavar pre-lift. So you get the amplified strength effects, the amplified anabolic effects, the anti-catabolic effects. But one's drying you out while the other one's making you wet. It kind of like doesn't make you retain the same amount of water, but you still get the anabolic, the methyl estrogen, once the Anavar's wearing off. Because the methyl estrogen will stick around for a couple of weeks, whereas the D-ball itself is only active for like 24 hours.
Right.
And Anadrol, for sure, I totally think Anadrol is better than the other two, but we're talking about beginner stuff, and I think Anadrol is supposed to be really harsh on the organ system.
Well, as far as the liver, yeah, it is. That's why I don't use it for more than 3 or 4 weeks either. I mean, we're talking about like a short blast of that. If I want to continue with an oral at that point, then I'll use something like Anavar or something like that. Or at this point, it's when I've got testosterone and I know I'm going to run EQ, but I'm waiting for the EQ to get in my system. I'll run Anadrol to start with, bridge the two of them together, drop the Anadrol completely, and then just run testosterone and EQ for the rest of my blast.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, obviously you can't run something like that for very long. If you do, you won't have a liver left. And I've seen lots of people that have done it and they've tried to run like 8, 9, 10 weeks of fucking Anadrol at like 50 to 100 milligrams, and they wonder why their kidneys and their liver hurt after like week 5. And it's because you're fucking killing it, literally, because the toxins are building up in it, and you're not running any Silmarin along with it. So there's no detox agent that's going in there that's cleaning the liver out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everything will work for somebody, but you got to do it properly without hurting yourself. And if you're going to do something, you have to make sure you take all the proper measures along with it. So yeah, I don't run it for longer than 4 weeks. And then after I'm done running it, I'll run milk thistle or Silmarin with it for along with just whatever is in there afterwards for like another 4 weeks after. Just make sure I clean all that shit out of there so I don't have any problems. And I've never had any liver enzyme issues, so clearly I'm doing it right.
Now with now as far as the collagen, my understanding is that there's a 340% increase in collagen synthesis if you run 300 EQ a week.
Right.
There's 240 collagen synthesis if you run 300 DECA a week. So that the EQ is better than the nandrolone. The thing that I was thinking was, because EQ is technically a testosterone,
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't convert into DHT. It converts
Right.
into dihydroboldenone,
Right.
which is primo, is that it works completely different, whereas the nandrolone's big function, aside from having the highest binding affinity to the androgen receptor, it also causes a sensitization of IGF-1, where the IGF-1 works stronger in the presence of the nandrolone.
Right.
That's why I usually run some type of nandrolone, some type of testosterone, some type of DHT, no matter what, because I want to get all those bases covered.
And you're right. The nandrolone, there will be more of an effect as far as building muscle and stuff. You'll get a higher anabolic and muscle building effect and stuff because of that. But the problem for me personally is, and this is why I use EQ, is I still get a good amplifying effect with the EQ, but I don't get the shutdown.
Okay.
And for me, any kind of nandrolone whatsoever, I don't care how much. I mean, it does matter how much testosterone you put in there, but I've got to use a boatload of testosterone for even a small amount of NPP or of DECA to alleviate that shutdown for whatever reason. And I don't want to keep running other shit with it to downregulate that shutdown. What's that?
There's a new theory running around that the shutdown is really from the nandrolones upregulating the aromatase. And the aromatase takes whatever test someone's running as a base.
Yep.
And makes so much of that convert to estrogen that now some of that estrogen is converting to causing prolactin to be released.
And that's what it is. It's prolactin buildup in the system.
Right. And it's like an anti-Viagra. So
right.
One way around that is Cialis
Yep.
counteracts the prolactin's effect directly.
Right.
The other way around that is you run a really low test. So like I might run 200 tests and 600 or 800 DECA and 200 tren.
Right.
So I've got a gram of nandrolone and only 200 tests with 50 proviron, I'm doing fine.
Right.
Whereas if I run 750 tests and 400 DECA, I've got shutdown.
Right. Yeah, and that's the problem for me is that I can run a couple 100 milligrams of NPP, and it doesn't make a difference. The prolactin buildup from whatever for reason for me, the prolactin buildup just shuts me down, and I don't want to deal with that shutdown. That's just I don't want to deal with it. So I'd rather just run the EQ, maybe not get quite as much of an amplifying effect from the EQ, still get a great collagen effect, which is what I really like it for. It's more therapeutic than anything. And I'll just train a little fucking harder, so that I end up with the same effect in the long run, which is increased muscle mass.
One thing I did notice though is that I forgot to mention this is that what I'm talking about is with the presence of Thor's hammer. So the 200 tests with Thor's hammer and the Proviron with like 600 or 800 DECA
right.
and 200 tren, I don't have any shutdown. I've never tried that shit without the Thor's hammer. So,
and I've never tried it with the Thor's hammer, so that's why I'm speaking from that. I've obviously just started using it, so maybe in the future I can try some NPP or something. I'd rather use NPP.
Yeah.
I don't like using Deca's. Deca's dirty. I'd rather use
Well,
NPP.
When I say mandrelone, I mean like it's a blend. Whereas I'll do like half NPP, half Deca
Right.
to start, and then after 4 weeks go all Deca, and then when I want to come off, switch to half and half, and then end it out with just NPP.
Cool.
Just like if it was Tren Ace and Tren and Aphate. You
Right.
wouldn't just start with Tren and Aphate and just twiddle your thumbs waiting for the fucker to kick in.
Right.
You know, you'd start, yeah.
Start with something quicker. Carrie, is there anything else you would add in the long run besides the orals?
I mean, you guys have covered a lot of it. So, I mean, as far as my experience goes, I've had good luck with EQ.
Yep.
For me, for an appetite.
Yeah.
Because my appetite sucks.
Yep. You have a bikini girl appetite.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a 250-pound bikini girl.
That is the one thing about the EQ that I do like is the appetite increase with EQ along with the red blood cell count and stuff. You seem to get a better pump and better vascularity along with it as well. But yeah, the appetite, I'm literally eat everything in sight.
Yes. You know, I think last year was my first time playing with NPP, and it was, I had zero issue with it. I think I was around 600 and 400 on test with Proviron, 50 milligrams a day of Proviron, and IGF, DES intra workout. And
That's perfect.
it was phenomenal. That was
Right.
probably some of the best growth I've had. All my blood work came back beautifully. So I didn't experience the prolactin shutdown. And
Right.
That was just the Proviron. I didn't have anything else in there for no anti-estrogens or anything like that. So it's a very individual thing. I really just, my body seems to be cooperative when it comes to conversion to estrogen and when it comes to progesterone, because I don't really add any AIs in until prep.
Right.
The only time I bring them in. Other than that, I don't use anything in the off season. Occasionally, I'll throw Proviron in there, but even at that, it was only last year. The only time I ever used it.
Right.
So it's, you know, I've gotten lucky with that, you know. But it comes down to, just like we were all discussing, the person's got to figure out what their body's going to do, because it's very, very individual, and you got to know.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times too, you don't really know what's going to work if you're not training hard enough and you're not eating proper, and I think that's the big thing is people are like, yeah, I didn't like that. Well, you didn't like that. It gave me too much water retention. Well, yeah, it gave you too much water retention because you're not drinking enough fucking water. You have no sodium in your fucking diet other than preservative sodium from the boxed food that you're eating 6 times a day in the McDonald's. So no, you're not going to like that. But, you know, I can use the same thing and my diet's clean. I'm drinking 1.5 gallons of water a day and I'm keeping sea salt in on every single meal. And I'm dry as a bone off of fucking 50 milligrams of Anadrol, where Joe Blow down the street here is blowing up like a blimp, you know, and it all goes back to your diet and your training, you know, it really does.
Yeah. If you're not abusing the drugs, then you know the issue falls back in the training.
Right.
Diet. No question.
I mean, like, considering how strong 50 milligrams of Anadrol is,
yeah,
why the fuck are people using 150 in the first place?
200. I've seen people using 200, and I'm just like, what are you trying to do to yourself?
And then the other thing is like, oh, that makes me bloated. It's like you eat like shit.
Yeah, that's making you bloated.
Bulking, not mass building.
Right.
That's why you eat a tub of shit. It's not because of the drugs you're on. It's just that everyone pairs certain drugs with the tub of shit diet. And then they wonder why they look like a bloated tub of shit. It's like, because your diet's fucking horrible.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to out-drug a diet.
No, never. No, and that brings me back to my next part. We'll talk about drugs on prep and how it changes and how the fact that some people like to just, you know, do minimal shit, you know, in the off season, and then all of a sudden they get on prep and they think that the drugs are the answer and it's going to save their shitty off season. So, Todd,
yeah,
what do you consider acceptable drugs for a contest prep diet?
So this isn't doses, because doses are person dependent.
Right.
You know, like I tend to become paranoid, delusional, schizophrenic on Tren. And the thing about being crazy is y'all don't think you're crazy. So, like, you're convinced people are out trying to kill you or steal things from you and shit, and you start plotting against them. Like, I gotta get them before.
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that problem.
Like, I'm looking at, you know, like, does he want my goldfish? I'll murder you. You ain't eating my fucking goldfish.
Right.
And just looking at you while you're
way too much Walking Dead.
no, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just eating my goldfish. I'll kill all of them. So I try to keep the paranoid delusional schizophrenia to a minimum. But it's gotta be.
Right.
So I think that a test base, if you have a girlfriend, if you don't have a girlfriend, you don't really need the testosterone because you don't need the sex drive. You know, like, why bother? Like, if there's not someone there that you have to satisfy, the less people in your life during prep, the better. Period.
Right.
Everyone.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So, like, if you don't have a sex drive, then you won't smell like Amanda women, and they'll leave you the fuck alone. You just like are like some type of cyborg robot. You know, like, you're cool to look at, but when they get close, nothing happens to them.
Right.
It's like you don't have the pheromones being released. Whereas if you're running 1,000 tests, like, every girl's going to fall victim. It's not even their fault. Because if they have a nose, they're going to want to hit it.
Right.
So you got to, I would say pre-contest, you cut your test as low as you fucking can.
Right.
Run Byron because it's a great hardener and it'll give you some relief on natural function.
Okay.
You can run Anavar going into the show.
Yep.
Until you, like, Anadrol for a month, Anavar for a month with trouble last. That's a simple way of doing it. Some people like to roll Halo the last week. If you're running Halo the last week, it's like if steroids took steroids, it'd be Tren.
Right.
If Tren took Tren, it would be Halo.
Right. It's
so
isolate yourself as much as possible.
I'm like, I don't mean
definitely
because you're a walking dick.
Oh, maybe I'm walking dick. I'm like a walking switchblade.
Right.
It's just like I'll cut you. It's like I'm hard as nails. I'll stab the shit out of you.
I was walking double-edged sword.
Right.
So mean. So mean. So, like, the point is that, like, when it comes to that shit, you hold off the trend as long as you can.
Yep.
But when you got it stick in, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
So your 6 to 8 week protocol is like minimal test, some trend, and you're going to be running Winstrol at the end, and Proviron holds everything together. So, like, for me, what I did was, it was like 750 test, 300 DECA for the month, and Anavar. Then the next month was like 500 test, maybe like 400 NPP. Then at the end, it was like 300 test, 300 Tren, Winstrol, and Proviron. And then at the very end, doubled the Tren, cut out all the tests, doubled the Winstrol, doubled the Proviron. So it's like 100 Tren, 100 Winstrol, and 100 Proviron a day. And that was like 1 week.
Right.
At the end.
And
That's after 8 years of continuous use with no going off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm recommending that to anybody. It's just
no. And I'm not going to recommend. I can tell you what I do, and I won't recommend what I do necessarily to anybody unless they're at my level as far as size and experience and stuff either, because that comes into account. But I'm with you on that. Usually I don't change anything coming in the first few weeks of as I start the diet. I'll keep the test right where it's at. I'll keep the EQ where it's at if that's what I'm using. I will run an oral at that point for the first 4 weeks just to get some muscle built while I'm still getting good, clean, quality calories in me, and a lot of them. As we get closer, it goes in like 2 to 4 week increments, where the next thing I'll do is I'll start lowering the testosterone, and I'll start increasing some of the other stuff. So, like, I'll have EQ. The EQ will get driven up a little bit. The test will come down a little bit. If I'm running Anadrol, the Anadrol cut out, I'll find something like you said, Anavar as well. I'll probably bring Anavar in at that point underneath everything else to give my body a little bit of a break, but still get that anabolic effect from the Anavar. As we get closer, about 6 to 8 weeks, Trend's going to come in. And this is where I switch over, if I haven't already. Everything's going to be a fast-acting ester. So the testosterone, if I'm using Sustanon or testanenthate at this point coming in, I'll switch this over to testosterone propionate, and I'll run propionate. And usually I just keep the propionate at 300 milligrams right until about 2 weeks out, and I just keep it right there. That's about as low as I'm going to be able to go with it. I won't cut it down anymore, just because, again, sexual function and stuff. I need to have that sex drive going into it. The last 2 weeks, fuck it, don't care. So we'll run 300 milligrams of propionate, and then usually it's Tren. I like Masteron. I don't run Proviron. I like Masteron instead.
Well, you keep your hair, so that's why.
I gotta, I think about that too, and I'm thinking about that, and I am getting really thin on top and the back. And I don't know if it's necessarily from that or if it's just, getting
That's
older. I'm gonna lose it anyway. Huh?
That's why I switched from Masteron to Proviron.
Yeah.
Someone told me that it's the same thing, but you don't lose your hair.
Right. Maybe from now on, maybe I'll get rid of the Masteron after this next time out. I'll just run Proviron instead. But I've always used Prop, Masteron, Tren. At about 6 to 8 weeks, I start that, and I start running those three together with Anavar, and I'll kick that all the way down, and then bring the Winstrol in at about three or 4 weeks out. The Anavar comes out, the Winstrol goes in. I just basically substitute, take one out, put one in. I don't want to add any extra shit at that time.
You're just drying out. You're switching from something pretty dry
to something really dry. Right. And then the
sarcasm and carry.
Right. And then the EQ will come down a little bit along with it. By the time I hit 3 weeks out, my test is at very minimal. I have no EQ left in there. I'm running Winstrol, Masteron, and Tren basically, and that's what I'm running. And then
it's pretty much a combo system.
Right, and then the last 2 weeks, I'll put Halo in there. And like going into the show, the week of the show, I even pull the Tren back. Like I won't inject any more Tren past like Monday because it makes me a little bit puffy. So I'll be running basically that last week. I'll just be running Winstrol, Masteron, and Halo, and that's it.
In the past, what I would do is, if my last shot was Thursday for Tren, I would do the Halo like double dose Friday and Saturday. But this time I just went up to 150 Winstrol, 150 Proviron those last 2 days.
Right.
Because I had I had a girlfriend I wanted to keep.
Right.
So I was like,
see, you don't want to be a complete asshole.
It's like, when you look at it, it's like there's such bitches going into the show and they sabotage you so much. You're like, whatever, I'm going to win anyway and get new ones, so it doesn't matter. Just get out of here. But like, if you go into the show and you really like the one you have, you don't want to lose her.
You don't want to run a lot of Halo.
You will lose whoever, any social relationship you have, kiss it the fuck goodbye. If you have a pet turtle, fucker will not eat for a week.
we were at my last show. We were at Kroger. I remember because I had left. What the fuck did I do? I left my cream of rice or something at home, and I needed cream of rice for the morning. And I'm like, motherfucker. So I had to go to Kroger on Friday night. And I had already gone and weighed in and everything, So I go to Kroger, and some asshole cut me off. Now I got like 30 milligrams of Halo in me every day for that entire week. And I just, and I'm already on edge anyway because the show's the next day. I fucking snap. I chase this dude into the fucking parking lot. He happens to be going to Kroger. So I pull in, and my wife just looks at me, and she goes, I don't know who the fuck you are right now. And I'm like, sorry, I'm done. But had she not been there, I don't even know what would have happened.
Dude, I used to keep a battle axe in my back seat.
Fuck.
If someone honked at me, I would put my car park, put the hazards on, step out, walk, open my trunk, and pull the battle axe out. Start walking towards their car, and they would just pull off.
Yeah.
Like I would think,
that's the downside to having a CPL.
Right.
Oh no, I would never carry a gun because I'd use it. So I have to just have like this medieval weapons and shit. Because my grandfather told me when I was a little kid, he's like, always threaten people with a knife instead of a gun because it's scarier.
Well, and with that being said, kids, don't use Halo.
So I'm like the nicest guy in the world. I did Halo one time. And all I remember was I was at Meyer, and I was a week out, and this lady walked by, and just under her breath, I heard her whimper steroids. All I remember is turning around, grabbing her shopping cart, and launching it. Luckily, she grabbed her kid out of it.
Oh, wow, that would have been bad.
That would have been really bad.
Yeah.
The best part is I'm walking out of the store. I just continued my shopping as nothing happened. I checked out, I walked out, and the manager stayed at the door. He's like, you probably shouldn't come back. And I said, okay. Have a nice day. Went to the car.
Wow.
So you go to a different Meyer now, right?
You actually were told not to come back to
They're
Meyer.
nicer.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's Halo.
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes right along with Trenkopf. Yeah, that does really fucking happen. Trenkopf and Halo explosions. Yeah.
Tren overdose and Halo. And you don't have to overdose on Halo to get that effect, children. Like,
fuck no.
10 to 20 milligrams.
10 milligrams, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember once I accidentally took 50 because they were packaged as a 50.
Oh, God.
Straight panic attack. Because I'm like, Kelsey, you remember Kelsey, Carrie? We went to like the Fitness 19 in West Bloomfield where it's all Indian pediatricians and shit. And I'm on freaking dumbbell deadlifts just shaking with rage. And she's like, you're a motherfucker for taking that much. It's like, but they're 50 milligram pills. It's like, you can't take a smaller dose. She's like, break it in half and snort it for all Carrie. What the fuck are you taking 50 milligrams of Halo for? Like, I'm never doing this again. I'm having a panic attack. She's like, good. Fuck you. Or something like that.
That sounds like her, yeah.
She never even pissed at me ever before that about any gear or nothing. I must have been that much of a dick that I didn't even realize I was being a dick until I started having a straight panic attack doing dumbbell deadlifts.
Right.
And that tore into me. Like, oh, it's over here. You can't fight back. Boom, on it.
So once again, kids, do not do Halo.
Correct.
It's a bad idea.
That's my recommendation.
Oh. All right, Todd, we got a little Q&A stuff here that we can do.
Awesome.
Because I know you love Q&A stuff.
I do. These are good questions, though.
They are.
They are good
Yeah,
questions.
my made me like feel them first.
All right, let me find them here. Okay,
Oh,
so we kind of already covered some of these. Let's talk female usage. Obviously, we don't want to condone anything for females, but you know they're going to do it anyway. A lot of them and stuff. We can tell them not to do it. Most of them are going to do it. As far as female steroids go, here the question is: I'm a female looking to use anabolic steroids to compete in the women's physique division. What would be something that I can take safely so that I don't have all these negative side effects?
it's like, I don't know, just, it's an oxymoron. It's like, if I'm going to shoot myself in the face, what can I do to get back in a hole? It's like, they don't, it's just,
Right.
They're completely on the masculinized virgin tissue, everything masculinized.
Right.
But the answers she's heard before that won't, like nandrolones don't convert to DHT, Primo doesn't convert to DHT, EQ doesn't convert to DHT, but Anavar is motherfucking DHT. That's where they all make this mistake, is like you pick the one drug that's already DHT. But that's why you tell them use 5 milligrams.
Yes.
But they only come in 50s, so they use the whole 50.
Well, you just, it's like you said, where your Kelsey told you to cut the damn thing in half. They don't know how to cut it in half, quarter it, crush it up and dissolve it in water, convert how much water it would be, 5 milligrams, 10 at the very most, and just drink that because it's suspended in liquid, it'll be fine.
But that's a lot of chemistry for people who failed.
Right.
It's like, I actually met a 20-year-old girl the other day who didn't know left from right.
Well, that's not surprising. She's a millennial.
Yeah. No, for fuck's sake, Jesus Christ. Catastrophe them all. Like fucking zombie apocalypse time.
She was waiting for you to write the R and L on her hands for her because she's entitled this because she's a millennial and that's what they do.
She was in the back seat and I was giving her a ride home. It was one of Serena's friends. And she's like, this way. And I'm like, sweetheart, I can't see out the back of my head. because my hair covers my third eye. Was it a left or right? and she couldn't tell me. She had to look back, and she's like, left. And she's like, I'm like, oh, so we're having trouble with left and right. Really sweetly, so it like under the radar of sarcasm. And she was like, yeah, I never did get that.
Oh my God.
You're pregnant with your third kid. I'm like, okay.
It sounds like there's a lot of things she didn't get then.
No, it's like rapid fire punches by a kung fu master. It's like Fist of the North Star. They don't get it till they just fucking explode. So it's like, I'm like, hold up the left hand. You see an L there? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's left. And I'm like, I was teaching that to her 8-year-old the other day. And then, so it's like, that's where we're at. I distinctly remember in kindergarten, there was a monkey right by the teacher in the front of the class under the blackboard. I'm that old. We had blackboards. We didn't have a giant iPad.
Right.
Or dry erase. And the monkey had left under his left arm and right under his right arm. It was red lettering and a brown monkey. And I can see it like it's yesterday.
Right.
1985. How can they not know it? It's just like fucking ridiculous.
Right.
So, point being is, if you take a 50 milligram pill, you crush it up, you stick it in 10 milliliters of water. Each milliliter's got 5 milligrams.
Yep.
You could draw that up with an insulin syringe or an oral syringe. Just because you draw it up with an insulin syringe, don't fucking inject it.
No, drink it.
And then, yeah, you put it in your mouth and you swallow.
Right.
And that's it. But that's so much work when the reason why, because the logic is, well, if the 50 milligram pills are $2 a pill, and the 5 milligram pills are $2 a pill, and the 10 milligram pills are $2 a pill, I might as well get the 50 milligram pill because then I can drink more margarita. And it's not a diet drug. It fucking builds muscle.
Well, that's the misconception that they have with it right there. Is
more muscle.
they think it's going to get them ripped, and it's not. Steroids are muscle builders. They're not fat. They're not fat fucking burners. That doesn't. They don't work the same way. They are muscle builders. They build muscle. You may get more of a leaning out effect by having more muscle because your body's metabolism is running faster because you have more calories that your body needs, but you are not burning fat by taking Anavar. You are not going to burn more fat taking 50 milligrams than you are at 5. It's not going to happen. What you're going to do is you're going to build more muscle, and you're going to turn yourself into a male a lot faster by getting male characteristics because you're putting male hormones into your female body, but you are not going to burn fat. And I think this is the biggest misconception with females when it comes to steroids, and especially Anavar. They have the wrong fucking idea about it.
It's popular because it's safe on the organs.
Right.
Not masculinizing.
Right.
Masculinizing ones are the ones that cannot convert to DHT, which is Primo, EQ, and DECA. But since EQ and DECA can convert to estrogen, they may get fatter if they're eating a shit diet and trying to compensate for shit diet by using drugs. So then they think it's not working, and then they'll go take more and get worse results. Because if you drink alcohol with this shit, you're going to get fatter and uglier even faster than before.
Jesus Christ. You're right, though. I mean, you are right.
Well, I'm not trying to be sensitive here.
No,
fucking people.
No, you're right.
It works except for pain. It's the best teacher.
Yeah, I mean, as far as...
They have to hate my guts, but they don't do the drugs. And they're like, fuck you, Toddlee, burn in hell. And they make a dartboard, and they piss on it rather than throw darts at it. As long as they don't take the drugs, I'm happy. Right.
No, you're right. The Anavar, I've always constantly told if you're going to do it, start with 5 milligrams. See what 5 milligrams does for if your diet's good, your training's good. 5 milligrams should be all you ever need. Cycle on and off of it for 6 weeks. 6 on, 6 off at least. 6 on, 6 off at least. You're not gonna be doing the prolonged usage of it that's going to cause the viralization effects and stuff and the masculating effects of the drugs and stuff. You get into the 10 milligram range, now you're playing with fire. You can probably do it in short bursts and do it effectively and do it safely, but over the years, there's going to be some sort of masculizing effect to your face, especially. It's mostly the jawline is what I see. I don't see too much with hair growth and stuff at that dosage, but it's mostly the jawline starts to square out a little bit. you get up in the 15, 20, 25 milligrams, which I've seen up to 50, you're right. Then, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of time, and it's not going to be a lot of time. Primo seems to be safe.
They don't see it as ugly, or they see it as better because it's more masculine.
And they're attracted to males. Right.
So they think they look better, and we're like, ugh, it doesn't matter what your body looks like if your face is ugly.
Right.
Like, I don't know why they think their body's more important. Like, don't fuck your face up just to cut corners on a diet. And that's the other thing is, like, the concept of self-control on a cycle is like, if they weren't drinking and eating ice cream, they wouldn't need the drugs in the fucking first place.
Right.
So if they had the self-control and the discipline, they wouldn't need the drugs. So there's no way they're going to go on the drugs, get away with the Ben & Jerry's and the Apothecary Red, and then they're going to go off the drugs and then get fat again from their drinking and ice cream. Their drinking and ice cream habit's going to increase because the drug's masking it. So then they'll never go off of them. They'll just add GH to it, or do something, or Quen, or T3, and you're like, it's fucking February.
That's a whole nother show. That's a whole other show. That's our female only show that we're gonna have in December. There, when we start talking about T3 and Quen usage. Jesus Christ!
You opened with what anabolic steroids should females use, so obviously, like, that's my hot button passion topic.
I know.
If I could cut off my left arm and make it so that no woman can ever take them, I'd do it.
Right.
You know, like.
Okay, let's go. We already talked about the hair loss one, but let's go. Which ones are the ones that cause hair loss?
Anything that converts to DHT.
Okay.
If you've got genes, which is 50% of males, anything that converts to DHT is going to make you lose your hair.
Right. So.
Or that's already a DHT molecule.
Right.
Yeah. So Anavar, Anadrol, Tren, which is a caveat to that explanation. Testosterone, and they've got anti-DHT receptor shampoos, and they've got anti-5-alpha reductase shampoos. So they've got both to protect the scalp. And then there's oral agents, the 5-alpha reductase inhibitor families, like the finasteride, which is a class action lawsuit. And that's a whole show in and of itself, how there's a common personality flaw in the people that supposedly have the post-finasteride syndrome.
Right.
And that I'd have to get into that, which would hurt their butt-sore feelings like a fucking flaming poker in the anus. So there's no reason to alienate all those people by telling them the truth. Just let them believe whatever they want, and their lawyer told them. And then the dutasteride is a better option because it actually gets the correct receptors.
Yep.
Whereas the finasteride doesn't get the subtype that affects the hair. It only does the prostate, and it's a total ripoff, and it's a scam. The dutasteride or Avodart actually works, but it's so effective that it causes impotence almost 100% of the time.
Right.
So you can keep your hair, but your dick ain't going to work, no matter how much Cialis you
all right. The next one is, and this one, jumping on these two, Carrie, whatever. I'm getting a lot of problems with, and he writes on here, swelling and bloating in the lower back from using Anadrol. What is the best way to get rid of this? And what he's talking about is back pumps, which we've all fucking experienced from wet orals like that, like Anadrol and Dianabol. And drink some fucking water. That's the best thing. I say drink more water. Flush that shit out. You've got sodium buildup in your lower back.
Well, and then remember, it's the estrogen causes sodium retention. That's why pregnant chicks blow up.
Right.
Period chicks blow up.
Right. I've always just drank more water when I get something like that. I just drink a little extra, slam about a liter of water first thing in the morning, get it down into the kidney area and get rid of flush some of that bullshit out of there and stuff, and then make sure your water stays high throughout the day. You can add taurine. I know that you're probably going to say that. You can add taurine, especially pre-workout.
That's why I put 3 grams in Fender's Fury.
Right. Well, that because you knew the little fuckers are going to use Clen.
yeah. That's why I put 2 more grams in Battle Me.
Right. But I personally, I just think just drink water. Drink more water would be the answer. Is the easiest thing to do.
And then the that's the in. The out would be dandelion root or asparagus.
Right, so that you're not retaining.
Drinking more water is to upregulate kidney function.
Right.
Unless you've got kidney failure, in which case you might want to improve the kidney's function in that direction.
Right. Kerry, what do you think?
The water's my always go-to when I see that. Because usually that's the problem.
It's the cheapest way, and it's the easiest and simplest way. Is to just guzzle fucking water for a couple of days, and then make sure you keep it high as long as it's long as you're using that compound, whatever it is that's causing the problem.
Make sure that the dose is reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing 200 milligrams of fucking Anadrol, you better expect to have back pumps, because otherwise you're probably gonna need to drink like 4 gallons of water a day, which probably isn't doable.
On the clock, take it only before you lift.
Right.
Only 2 days. Don't take it on back and leg day.
All right, the last one we got here is.
I would say one more thing though is stretch. Like touch your toes.
Yeah.
Hold it 3 seconds to a minute. Do that in the shower in the morning without don't pass out and kill yourself.
No, with warm water on your back.
Yep. Like when you're like warmed up from the shower, you can stretch that fucker out.
Yep.
And then even if your knees are bent, it's going to stretch your lower back out. Stretch between sets, even though you're not supposed to for strength. If you've got a lower back pump that prevents you from lifting, fucking stretch. And then like foam roller at night while you're watching Seinfeld or Oprah or whatever you watch. Gilmore Girls. That just watch it, roll your back out, or Walking Dead like I do. And even if you have to foam roll your IT band so your knee loosens up, so you're able to not use your lower back when you're squatting, there's other reasons why you might be having that lower back strain and pump.
That could be too, yeah. All right, last one we got here is curious to see what you guys would say about how long I should cycle on before going off, or if I should just cycle on and then cruise.
So it's kind of a broken sentence or something like that?
Yeah. Basically, he wants to know how long he should cycle on his gear before he cycles off, and then how long he should be off, or should he cycle on and be on and then cruise off instead of going completely off.
2 questions.
So there's 2 questions, actually 3 questions I think he put into one. So the first question is, how long should I cycle on before I go off?
Depends on the drug.
It depends on the drugs. It depends on your experience too. If you're a first timer, I'm gonna tell you 8 weeks before you because it's going to take 8 weeks. It's going to take 8 weeks before you actually know what the hell you've got going on, because a lot of this stuff it's going to take at least 3 before it's fully into your system, depending on what you're taking, what testosterone analog you're taking.
So like orals are 3 hours, 3 days.
Well,
so if an oral is a good first-time cycle because they can learn how to do it, and they can pull the plug, and they're totally clean in 3 days.
Right,
but it's like 2 or 3 days, so it's a 4-week cycle.
Right.
If you use an EQ, it's a 16-week commitment.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, if you're using testosterone and enthate, I mean, it's going to be it's a week before you actually start to get any kind of effect off of it. It's going to be 14 days before you've reached a half-life on that, so.
Yeah. So if you do 4 injections, 2 a week, the 4th injection is the one that gets you to your steady state concentration.
Right.
On something like an assay.
Right.
So what we're saying is, you don't know what the fuck it's doing until the 2nd week.
Right.
But then it's not going to be out of your system until 6 weeks. So if you start smacking your woman, or having pimples blow up on your back, or you're having weird other issues like your hair is falling out in clumps, like you're turning into some sort of creature, then like that shit's going to be continuing even if you stop for up to 6 weeks.
Right.
So using the really short-acting half-life drugs like the orals or the propionate, like NPP and test probe, that way you can pull the plug and get off of it immediately if it's your first cycle.
Test probe 3 days, 4 days after your injection, it's pretty much out of your system. You'll have metabolites in there, but it's not active anymore. It's 8 weeks. I mean, if you're more experienced, I would say 12 weeks up to 16 weeks. I mean, if you're in a contest prep and you're prepping fucking 16 weeks, you're probably going to have drugs in your system all 16 weeks.
But you're rotating. You're phases for that.
Right. So I would say anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks, probably depending on your experience level.
And the drugs.
And the drugs that you're taking, obviously, yeah. And then as far as going off,
Unless you're trying to get someone pregnant, you're probably not going to want to go off.
right. I mean, if you're a young kid, like I say, if it's a young kid who's only, he's in his 20s, he's still got good natural testosterone flowing through his system. If you're going on 8 weeks, I'd say go off the same amount of fucking time and be safe. Go off for 8 weeks. Use a proper piece.
After the post cycle's done.
Right. After,
I didn't eat shit till I was 30.
you do your 4 week post cycle therapy after 8 weeks, and then you wait 8 weeks after that, and then go back on. So it'd be 8 weeks on drugs, 4 week pro cycle therapy, 8 weeks off the drugs, and then you could go back on again for another cycle, and you would probably be ready. If you're a young kid, if you're in your 30s, who the fuck? Why would you go off? Your body's probably not producing it anymore anyway at a high enough dose. I mean, once you hit 30 years old, your testosterone production decreases by 50% every year. So by the time you're 38 or 39 years old, my age, your body's not producing it anymore. And you're basically running around like an 8-year-old boy on your own. There's really no reason to go off. That's where where TRT would come into effect if you wanted to go through your medical doctor and go on 200 milligrams of testosterone a week. Or Todd, if you want to run the Thor's hammer with Proviron, that's another way to do it, to just cruise along that route.
So, but basically, what I agree with everything you said. I don't think people under 30 should ever touch steroids. They don't need it.
Right.
And then if you're over 30, then your cruise is either Thor and Proviron and a low dose test, or just if you don't want to buy my shit, then
low dose test. Yeah.
Your cruise. But never more than 300 milligrams, because you want your receptors to cool off.
Right.
And you want your body primed for the anabolics to do their thing.
Well,
why have some mucky testosterone gumming up your system when EQ or NPP would be much more effective for growing muscle, or Tren would be better for recomp, or for helping you grow even in a cut phase when you're coming down in weight?
Well, all you really need for TRT, and the whole purpose of TRT is to replace what your body at age 20 would be producing anyway. You're not
right.
Your body on average at that age is probably producing about 180 nanograms per milliliter, a day, which you're looking at about 180 milligrams a week. I would say to 220 milligrams a week. And that's where they get the mean average of 200 a week, and that's why they prescribe that dose. That is, the mean average of what an average person aged 20 to 25 is actually producing.
Right.
So if
it's certainly not 500 that people think.
No. And then if that's why I said, well, for a starter cycle for somebody, 400 or 500 milligrams of testosterone, fuck, you're 200 to 300 milligrams over what your body would naturally produce in a week. If you can't grow off that, then
everything's wrong.
Right, everything's fucking wrong, because you should be able to grow off of that. The ones that just go in there and they take one shot of testosterone a week, you're okay, that's great, and it's going to work for 2 weeks for you, and then after 2 weeks your body's going to stop producing it, so you're right back to square one where you were. So
which is
right. So if you're going to do it, then you need to add something else along with it at that point if you're going to be on actually considered on cycle. If you're just taking 200 milligrams of testosterone a week, that's TRT, that you're just replacing what your body should be producing. So if you're 35 years old, then that's probably the best route.
Yes. Remember, 200 a week isn't 200 every 7 days. It's 100 every 72 to 100 hours.
Right.
The shit, if you're going to be up and down, which causes tons of estrogen bullshit, take one shot a week. And if your doctor's insisting he gives a shot, it's because he's billing for the procedure to your insurance company.
Right.
It's about money. It's not honest work.
Well, is it ever about honest work and not about money?
It was for me. That's why I don't work in Western healthcare.
That's why you're not doing it anymore.
Like, I have to look at myself in the mirror.
Right.
I'm not fucking playing this game. I'll make my own drug.
Right.
Make over the world inside out.
So yeah, and so going off, we covered that. Cruising, I would say, for length of your cruise, I mean, cruise as long as you feel like it's necessary to cruise. I mean, it's going to take at least 4 to 8 weeks for your receptors to come back fully to where they're going to be fully charged again. So if you're not going off for if you're going off for two weeks, you're not fully recharging your receptors again. If you're going to go off for at least 4. 8 would be preferable. So if you did like a 16-week blast and then like an 8-week cruise, that takes you half the fucking year right there. So now you've got 2 blasts a year and 2 cruises. Basically, you would do a off-season blast, and then you would cruise into your show, start your prep, do your prep, and then cruise after your prep. And that would probably be ideal for a year.
Thing is, we're not taking into consideration the myostatin levels.
Right.
So myostatin is supposed to go up 6 to 8 weeks after you start growing.
Right.
So after, a 16-week growth cycle, to me doesn't make as much sense as 8 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks would. Because it gives the myostatin levels a chance to come down while your receptors are repopulating.
Right.
And I think, Keith, that's when you would run your IGF-1 is during that cruise.
Right.
Bridging or 2 blasts.
Yep.
Then you'd want to have the ability to run some type of blast after your show because your myostatin levels would be through the floor because you've just been dieting for 8 to 12.
Yep. Usually that's your most anabolic time is right at 4 weeks right after the show. That's why I never really understood the concept of people reverse dieting after a fucking show because, dude, you need those nutrients. Go ahead and add the carbs. Don't go overboard, but add some fucking carbohydrates after the show.
You and me have moderation.
And grow. Yeah, well, that's the thing is that
reverse dieting
right.
for them isn't the same thing as what they're thinking.
No.
If they reverse diet, it's margaritas and pizzas every fucking night for a week straight.
Right.
That's the problem.
I'll have a pizza. I'll go back to the gym after the show and burn off half the pizza.
Right.
Because I'm like the extreme opposite end of the spectrum.
No, they feel like it's okay if they're not going to reverse diet. They just instead, the reverse dieting is to keep the coaches to keep those clients from going crazy like that, or at least try to, so that they're not watching them be out to dinner and having dinner and drinks every night for the next 4 weeks, and they wonder why they blew up 60 pounds and none of it's good.
It's incredible, dude. It's like,
and that's the bikini girls.
No, it's estrogen. It's men's physique, dudes over 40, and girls. It's the higher estrogen crowd goes ape shit that week after the show. Whereas the ex-Marine Force Recon bodybuilder is like, you can't get him to cheat after the show.
Oh, you have a cheat meal after the show, and I'll have a cheat meal 1 or 2. But for the most part, my diet doesn't really just change. I'm just eating more of the foods that I was eating coming in.
What's your cheat meal, though? A steak and sweet potato fries?
No, I'll go with pizza. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to go with pizza. But I've eaten clean the entire day, too.
Right, and how many pieces do you have? Like 4?
Well, dude, I'll knock out a 16-inch fucking pizza.
Oh, you will? Okay.
I'll knock out a whole 16-inch pizza. I'm Italian. I'll knock out a 16-inch pizza.
I can't even do it. I'll end up eating just.
But I'm only doing that once too. I do that one time, and I've been eating 400 to 500 grams of carbs a day for the whole entire week, so my body can handle that. It's not like I've been eating 100 grams of carbs and then I do it and I get sick. I've been eating big amounts of food, just clean food. My metabolism's still racing right along post-show, and then all of a sudden I eat a fucking pizza on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. My body spins that shit right through. I fill up nice. I might feel a little lethargic, but I don't feel like shit, and I'm not super, super duper full after eating like 3 or 4 pieces. If I am full after eating 3 or 4 pieces, then I quit right there. I don't eat the rest of it. I'm done.
That's the other advantage, I think, of having no one in your life going into the show. Is there's no one in your life after the show, so you don't have to eat out with them.
Right.
Whereas, if you're like, I had 75 people come see me compete.
Oh, my God.
It's like, how'd you do? You're like, I got 4. But we went out and had margaritas and pizza,
right.
And then the next night they have to go out with a different group of friends. And the next night they have to go out with a different group of friends.
Well, because they didn't see those friends yet.
Because they didn't see them all. I was like, what do you have to see them for? What was the last time you saw them? 6 months ago?
So they're not your friends.
Fucking know.
They're not your friends.
After your show, they're just trying to run your ass up on the dress scale. They're trying to get you from the 0 that they can't stand looking at to
a 14 because they fucking hate you.
Where they are. That's it. They're trying to make your dress size go up. They
fucking hate you right now. It's the same thing with we had this conversation with Justin, I believe it was, and we said the girls, Girls at
Yeah.
work, when the bikini girls are on their fucking diet, it's always the women at work that are the worst at sabotaging their fucking diet because they're fucking jealous and they hate them. So they're gonna sit there.
Right.
You can have this cookie. You can have this piece of cake.
Like I have a client, she went from like 290 down to 150, right?
Right.
And she says that every day this gay guy comes in and puts a box of donuts at the end of her desk, and then all of her coworkers walk up to her and they eat a donut in front of her, dropping crumbs on her workstation. I don't know how you have the willpower to do it. We're so proud of you. We look up to you so much. And she'll
Right.
just text me constantly.
As they're doing it, we look up to you. We don't know how you do it.
They're dropping crumbs on their goddamn keyboard. And I was like, just imagine sticking a light bulb in their rectum and hitting them with a baseball bat in the stomach. And then throwing it up.
Oh.
And then she'd be like, I love you, you're the best. Like, anytime.
Yeah,
like,
it's amazing what estrogen can do to you it's when it comes to that shit. So I don't have any issues with that. I don't fucking crave anything when I'm dieting. That's the good thing is I don't crave anything really. I don't have any of those weird cravings. I don't have anything necessarily that I just want to eat. I mean, I'll eat my cheat meal or my refeed meal, but most of the time it's a cheat meal. I don't even want it anyway. I just eat it because I know kind of I have to. I need to get some extra calories. I need to be hypercaloric that day. So, but usually, like you said, Todd, it's a steak and potato. That's the only time I'll eat red meat. I'll have like a burger and fries or a steak and potato. That's my fucking that's my cheat meal when I'm on prep. Off season, I like my pizza, but that's I don't have any cravings for it even. That's the thing. I don't crave it.
Just rejects it. The older I get,
Yeah.
I just said to some like Dominic Trivellini the other day. I'm like, when you turn 30, you won't be able to digest half the shit you want to eat.
Fuck
And
no.
when you turn 35, you start pulling muscles out. Justin Parker told me the same thing, and I told him it wouldn't happen to me. It does.
Oh, dude, I pull muscles. I pull muscles doing things that I'm just like, how the fuck did I hurt myself? I hurt my neck 2 weeks ago. I hurt my neck sleeping.
You're old.
No shit. I woke up, I looked at my wife and I'm like, I couldn't turn my neck, I couldn't turn my head to the right at all. And I couldn't tilt it to the right at all. And it was like a week that my neck was like this. And she's like, is your neck still hurting? I'm like, fuck, I don't know what the hell I did to it. I hurt my neck sleeping and I didn't sleep any differently than I normally do. I probably moved in the middle of the night, like quickly, and that was it. Like in a direction that I don't normally do it, and I probably rolled over too fast or some shit, and I fucking pulled my neck muscles in the right side so bad that my neck was jacked up for a week.
You know that every night I wake up and I can't feel my hands multiple times.
Yeah, that happens a lot to me too. My left arm especially.
My arms while I'm sleeping.
My left arm falls asleep all the time.
Sometimes I pull a muscle watching other people pick up their kids.
Right.
That's how fucking frail I am. I can look at a stair mill and lose fat, but I can look at someone pick up their 4-year-old and pull a muscle.
That's called old age. That's just being old.
Yeah, you guys are just old.
Yeah, you see what you got to look forward to. That's what you have to look forward to, Kerry.
Oh, I'm already there.
Yeah.
I'm already there.
Just wait, it gets worse.
Oh, I know. My dad tells me every day.
Yeah, I'm down to turkey, chicken, potatoes, and rice. Those are the 4 things I can digest now.
Yeah.
Like, I can't digest anything else.
That sounds about right. That sounds about the same to me. Put egg whites in there. Egg whites, chicken, turkey,
Look at egg whites.
white rice and potatoes and green vegetables. That's it. That's my fucking diet. That's my diet. Anything outside of that, for the most part, is an accident waiting to happen the next day.
Clever choice of words.
That's when you see me run into the bathroom real fast at work. People are like, "Where's he going so quickly? I've never seen him move that fast." Yeah.
He hasn't torn anything yet. It's been 11 steps.
It's either that or I'm gonna have to change my underwear before the end of the fucking day because I'm not gonna make it.
I don't ever go to the gym without 2 pairs of underwear.
Oh.
Especially on leg day, dude.
Dude, I've shit myself squatting.
Oh, okay. They're gonna change the name of squatting to sharding.
Yeah. I've shit myself squatting so many times it's not even funny.
Oh, good thing I go to an all men's gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, usually when I'm training legs, there's nobody else in there. So because if there was, I feel bad for him because not only is it the sound of it, I mean, it sounds like my fucking underwear and my pants are ripping, which they probably do. But it's got to stink. I know it's got to smell so fucking bad in the back corner of that fucking gym where the squat rack is. It's terrible.
Cali Fitness Center, which looks like a family place too. It doesn't look like a hardcore gym.
Till you get in there and you see it's all elite FTS fucking powerlifting stuff in there.
Well, fuck me running. Never would have told.
They got They have a fucking powerlifting team in there that's based out of there and stuff. So like I got a safety squat yoke that I use. I don't squat with a barbell anymore. I use the fucking safety squat yoke now because my shoulders thank me every day for that one. Not having to reach back and grab.
I should start getting shots from that.
But they've got the different gripped fucking row bar in there. Elite FTS row bar. It's got like 15 different fucking grips on it.
Oh, that must be cool.
So that's pretty sweet for doing barbell rows on because you can use about any hand grip you want on that thing.
I started wrapping my wrists when I squat now because my squatting was hurting my wrist. Like I'm benching or something.
I've done that. I've actually done that where I've had because I can only get my hands back so far. My fingers are like my fingertips are on the bar and I actually get cramps in my fucking palms.
Right.
From it pulling on there and stuff. Yeah. So
radiant nerve compression, like I've got pregnant chick carpal tunnel.
Right. I would sit there and have to literally like stretch my shoulders for like 10 minutes, which sucks on leg day when you're trying to keep a pump. You know, sitting there for 10, 15 minutes trying to stretch your shoulders out on a bar because I've already done hamstrings and stuff and done one quad exercise. And here I'm trying to squat and I got to stretch my shoulders out enough so that I can get my damn hands around the fucking bar because I don't have any mobility left in my shoulders where they just from injuries and muscle being in the way and stuff. It fucking hurts. So I have that safety squat bar now. I don't have to wait at all. Now I can just go up underneath that thing, grab onto the handles, back up, put my hands on the rack, and guide myself up and down. I don't even have to grab the damn thing.
No, if you weight it just right, you're right. You can just put your hands on the rack.
Yep, I self-spot myself now all the time.
And that's cool, but what I do is I do my active rest for squatting as I stretch my shoulders for the first couple warm-up sets.
Right.
Then when it's getting by 3:15, and I start getting the lower back pump and I have to stretch out my lower back, my shoulders are warmed up enough.
Right.
But we have the same problems. We just have a different order of importance.
Right.
But do we have any other questions for anabolics?
That was it right there. I think we got through all of them, believe it or not.
So I think
we covered, there was a bunch, but we already covered them and everything we talked about. So
right. We should keep this bullshit at the end, though, because I think people like Dave Reed actually thinks we're funny.
I know. Yeah. Dominic told me too that we had him laughing all the way through a couple of these episodes. He said that normally I don't like podcasts; they're fucking boring, but you guys kept me interested the whole time just because you're so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, Dom actually listens like 2-3 times a week now.
Yeah,
he listens to all of our podcasts. Yeah. I think if we keep at this, we'll actually have a following. I
think we're getting there. I looked at the downloads and stuff last week, and we're every single week we get more and more and more. So
good.
It's a good thing.
Yep, that's definitely a good thing.
And this is the topic they want, which is they don't give a fuck about training or nutrition. They want to know about drugs.
Right.
So this episode will probably get the most amount of play.
This will be our longest running, highest listened to episode. We'll have people listening to this fucking episode that'll never listen to another one again.
Well, I have 450 videos on YouTube, right?
Yep.
50% of the time watched of those 450 videos are like the 20 that are on steroids and peptides.
Isn't that amazing?
Like, astronomical difference in how much people give a fuck about what they can do to cook versus how much hard work it actually takes.
Yep.
Nobody wants to hear that.
No, fuck no. They just want to hear it's all about the drugs. That's all they want to hear. They don't want to hear that it's hard work and training and your diligence in your diet. They don't want to hear that.
No. Straight to anal culture.
Kerry, you got anything else?
No, I think we've covered it. I think
Cool.
like you said, I think a lot of people listen to this. I think the best thing they can do is, if there's any questions, to put them back out on the page and in the group, and we'll regroup for another one, because
Yeah.
we know we're gonna get more questions out of it. We
Well,
always
this is
will.
going to turn into like a huge thread for sure. People are going to listen to this, ask questions,
And that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted the actual podcast thread. I wanted to get to have people start asking some questions based on it. I want to get more of that. I want to get more Q&A after the fucking show airs and stuff, and people asking more questions, because what that does is that spurs more shows for us on similar subjects, so we can go and I've got something to go back and talk about later on. So that is kind of what I want. I want a little more interaction that way on the actual posts and stuff, and commenting on the thread as far as
on the actual page is an open page, right? That has the podcast on.
Yeah, they can comment on that all they want.
Right, and if you share it from there, I'm pretty sure, since it's a page, not so much personal, it'll keep the comment. So if you share it to yours and I share it to mine and Carrie shares it to his, the comments will be one string that everyone can add to. Whereas if it starts on yours and you share it around to 3 different places, it starts fresh on each of those locations.
Right, and even if it does start fresh, I don't really care. I just want to have questions, because if they put questions on there, one of us is going to see it and answer it, and we can always tag somebody else in that question and stuff, so that we see it and shit, So it's just, I just want to get more interaction after the fact. Basically, if anything, I just like to know what people think about the fucking show. That's that tells me people are interested. That tells me people are actually listening, and not just listening for 5 minutes and then turning it off. They're actually listening to the whole thing. Because if somebody is listening to it right now, and they hear that I want them to do this, and they start doing it, I know they listen to the whole fucking show.
Right.
So, I think.
A lot of,
go ahead.
I think a lot of people do listen to the whole show.
Yeah, I think they do too. I mean, the people that are listening, I know they are listening to the whole thing. They may not. I've gotten several comments from people or messages from people say, "Hey, I listened to the first half hour while I was doing cardio. I love it. I'm gonna listen to the next half, the second half hour or whatever tomorrow. When I do cardio again. So that's good. People are actually listening to it. It seems like we're getting more of a following every week. I want this to be the best podcast it can be for people. I want it to help people, motivate people. I want it to be better than that other podcast that we know about, Carrie. I think it already is, but
I only know about Bodybuilding Nerds. It's the only podcast I know.
Bodybuilding Nerds is a good one. VJ does a pretty good job with that. I've listened to several of his episodes. I like that one. They go in depth.
Him and Scott are both, they're good guys.
Good guys, and they go into depth about other shit. They go into supplement reviews and stuff in there too, so that's nice to listen to that kind of stuff. But we're talking about that other one.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Other one that gets 10,000 downloads a week, apparently. Whatever. Even though everybody I talk to doesn't even fucking listen to it anymore because it's straight garbage. But whatever.
Well, I don't know. I've never heard of it. The only ones I know about are Joe Rogan and the London Rio with Dorian Yates. And I know about Bodybuilding Nerds. And I've been listening for 10 years over. I mean, I've been competing for almost 10 years.
Carrie, did you see that Johnson has anyone?
Other person think he is. He's probably not that big of a deal to anybody else.
Carrie, did you see that Johnson has a new one of all of his own now? Dave Johnson?
Is it still with Advices, or did
he still has it on Advices, but I think he's done 3 episodes on his own. It's God, what the fuck is it called? Something Driven.
Yeah, I think that was when him and Scott started.
Yeah, he sent me the fucking link to it here the other day. I got to listen to it yet, but
I have a lot of respect for Dave.
Yeah, what the hell did he? Why? What was the deal with him leaving Geared Up?
Oh, that's a whole long story. That could be another show all in itself. To be honest.
Okay, so I'm guessing it had to do with Adam.
Well, everything has to do with Adam.
Being a dick as usual.
So like this one talks about, like, I don't even know what I've heard of that, but I've never actually participated. I'm sure I'm on it because people add me to groups.
Right. Well, the Geared Up page has their own podcast that's been running for what now, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, probably at least that.
4 or 5 years. They got quite a following on there, but it's That's the one I referred to. That
for 5 years, and we'll be listening to us too. You know?
yeah, and that's what I'm hoping. But I'm also hoping that we not go the way that they've gone, where they had a good podcast at first that turned to shit because a lot of the people they brought on there are pretty much just look at me, I'm better than you, and they kind of lost track of the fact that the stuff we're doing, where hey, I want to help you. And I may not know the fucking answer, but I'm going to bring on some people that might know the answer, and we're going to come to a common agreement. This is probably the way to go, and we'll actually motivate you to do better, rather than say, "Fuck you, you all suck. I'm better than you," you know, because that's what they do. And
he doesn't compete, though. I thought.
Well, he does compete, just not very well.
Well, then why the fuck wouldn't he be insecure? He's got nothing to be insecure about. So obviously he's going to be a cocksucker.
And he is a dick. He doesn't like me. He's a dick to me. Me and him have gone round and round. I never did a damn thing to him. But he's come after me several times on my own Facebook. I've blocked him now from my Facebook. After actually, Carrie saw it. Some more bullshit the other day that happened to be with a potential client. Somebody was asking for coaching a couple weeks out. They need help coaching into the Western. She's a figure girl that had kind of, gotten kind of lost or whatever with where she was. She needed some help. Jenny Schramm, who's a friend of mine, tagged me in the post, saying here, basically for me to see it. So they talked to this guy. She contacted me. We made an agreement. I'm going to help her last couple weeks into the Western. On top of that, he had made a comment on there that was just an ignorant comment that you should never try to do without even knowing where she was at. But then, seeing that my name was tagged in there, and of course, puts on there, he can't even get himself in shape. Cry laughing face. And I'm like, dude, how many overalls have you won? Then shut the fuck up. But I didn't say anything. I just liked his comment because I would like to think that I'm not going to get into a pissing match war with him on somebody else's Facebook post. Number one, that's just fucking stupid. But I mean,
you guys are both really self-secured guys. I don't see you making shit about you that isn't about you. You don't need this to make you a complete. No,
this right here is to help people. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that was going to help people.
That other person's a nobody who's somebody because of his page in his podcast.
Right.
So therefore, I can see where he's getting defensive and butt protective as people challenge his authority. But since this is a hobby for the three of us that's done out of pure altruism and has no financial or monetary gain, I don't see us getting defensive or territorial about it.
No.
No, yeah.
No, and I really don't care. I honestly don't care what anybody wants to say about me. I know who I am. I know that I stand by what I do. I'd like to help people. That's my main goal with this whole thing. That was our main goal when we started this, was we want to motivate people to do things the right way. We want to help people do things the right way. And if I can do that for one person, then I've succeeded.
Right. Steroids are dangerous. Let's keep people from dying.
Right. It's not only just that. It's
2 hours of my time to do this.
Finding all these people that aren't doing things right, as far as from a diet standpoint, and they're hurting themselves with metabolic damage. And yeah, it might be great for your physique on stage, but is it necessarily the best fucking way possible to get there? There's other methods and there's other ways to get as shredded as fuck, and you don't ever have to sit there and rely on eating nothing and doing lots of drugs. There's better ways to do it.
Well, not the else.
Well, I mean,
if nothing else, it's about bringing everyone together.
Right. That's another thing too, is bringing people together, making a community that says, "Hey, look, we're all doing the similar thing. We may not be doing it in the same division. You may be doing bikini. You may be doing figure. You may be doing women's physique. You might be doing bodybuilding. You might be doing men's physique. We're all doing the same thing. We're doing it a little bit differently, but we're all ultimately have the same goal, and that's to get into contest condition for our division and give our best effort."
Well, at the end of the day, even if you're competing on the same stage as somebody in the same division, you can still have a friendship until that day.
I'm friends with, probably, if I actually know them, with all the guys that I've ever competed against.
Right.
I don't have any ill feelings towards any one of them.
No, you get competitive.
Really win if you fuck them over.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I've never done that with anybody. I mean, I've competed against guys, and I have the utmost respect for all of them. everybody does things a little bit differently. That's however you want to do it is but when it comes time to competition day, we're there in competition with each other. We're also in the competition with ourselves from our last show. We're all trying to come together to do the same thing. We're all trying to win a trophy. We're all trying to win a placing. We're all trying to win first place. Not everybody can do that, but I have respect for you that you put it down, you laid it on the line, and you went out there and you did it. And we've all done that. So I have all the respect in the world for everybody I've ever competed against, and I'm friends with probably 90% of them. I'd say most of them are on my Facebook. But this guy and some people aren't like that. They want to sit there and they want to put other people down and project themselves out further to make themselves look better. I'm not about doing that. That's not who I am.
Well,
that's not what this group is about. That's not what this podcast is about. So I think we've already achieved our goal as far as motivating people and helping people. And I just want to continue doing that and make this the best thing. So the more interaction we get from people on how to do that, better off we are.
Absolutely.
Oh. With that being said, Todd, you got anything else?
Nope. Walking Dead time.
All right, man. So for the Weekly Grind podcast, I'm Keith Fabbri for Kerry Cameron and Todd Lee saying thank you for listening and keep grinding.
Yes, grind away. Grind.